Here is a grouping of some beautifully flaked and etched and ground Paleo Story Stone face and Mammoth effigies that were made from flakes. Flakes that were removed from a larger stone, large percussion flakes. And these flakes are quite common at paleo sites. In fact, if it happens to be a surface site, then these flakes would probably be thought to be the most common flake stone artifact in the assemblage. And much of the flakes are waste flakes. They're called debitage or waste flakes. But if you look at what's called debitage sometimes, these large percussion flakes, they actually flaked the flake. So they flaked and etched and ground these flakes into effigies. And these are actually the most common form of Paleolithic story stone face and mammoth effigies. The larger sculptures are more rare, and the Clovis bifaces are very rare, are much more rare because they all come from Mount Shasta. But we'll find that a good part of this grouping comes from Mount Shasta. This comes from Mount Shasta, this one, and this one. This one comes from Arizona, and this one comes from Indonesia. This one has a cool face carved in on it. And when I acquired it from the seller, who didn't really know what it is, I was just hoping he didn't know that carved face was in there. It's the face looking up from the back of the mammoth that we'll see in a little bit, which is customary iconographics when it comes to Paleo Story Stone face and mammoth effigies. And then this one here, made out of Libyan Desert Glass, that's also beautifully flaked and etched as well. In fact, the etching survived on the side that was most protected. Why don't we start with that one? This is what we call a paleo flake. It's a large percussion flake, but it's been trimmed. All this area here has been flaked away. So this is a flake. All this area here, those are all Paleolithic workmanship flakes. None of this is damage, and there's no modern damage or workmanship on it at all. And then there's some great, very excellent workmanship on this, because we see on this side a great deal of etching that still remains. That patterned etching on this side that was more protected is the hair on top of the face. So the young face with the pointed nose and the eye that's been flaked out right there. That's the eye, pointed nose. Hair has been flaked up on top of the head there like that. Just unbelievable, but it survived that long. This is over 12,000 years ago. These were made over 12,000 years ago, and who knows how far back this may go, because these go back all the way to Homo habilis, some 2 million years ago. And then we have the older face with the big rounded nose here, now looking off to the right, more of a hooked nose, looking off to the right, and the hair above the head. And we have the mammoth, great mammoth image right there. Great mammoth image there, and a baby mammoth here. Now this is the baby mammoth with its little trunk here. Its eye has been flaked away right there. And looking off to the right, and the mature mammoth now looking off to the left. Now I won't spend too much time because this side's just the pretty much same imagery. But this was all flaked in Paleolithic times. It's well patinated. It's wind-blown. So you see all that smoothing is wind-blown erosion from being on the surface in the desert of Egypt, bordering Libya, where the Libyan Desert Glass comes from. And the Paleo Indians flaked it routinely into these beautiful Paleo Story Stone face and mammoth effigies. Then we have this one here. Oh, this is an interesting piece, in that we have this cool face right here. The eye, the nose, and the mouth of just a really cool face, if I get the right light on it there. Real cool face right there, carved into the stone, looking off to the left. They did that intentionally. That's looking up from the back of this mammoth. This is a mammoth that's been etched. All this hair has been etched. You can see that fine grooving, as those are all etching lines. They're engraved into the stone with fine engraving lines, and they make up the hair of the mammoth facing left, with the big sweeping trunk coming down from the left. But this is a flake that they modified. These are all what we call modified flakes. Now we have the mammoth facing right. These are, look at that etching there. Look at that face, the eye, the nose, and the mouth smiling at us right there. Outstanding. That's all paleo workmanship there. All those big lines are actually a bunch of little engraving lines that they put together to make the larger lines. The workmanship on this is amazing, and it's ground all the way around. This is from Indonesia. Then we have this beautiful Mount Shasta piece. This is heavily etched and engraved with a mammoth facing left, but I'll spend more time this way here. This eye, you see, has been worked beautifully, how they carved that eye, and all that hair engraved around the eye, flaring out for that face facing left. That's the older face with the bigger nose facing left, and the eye here, and the younger face with the more upturned nose over here, facing off to the right. And then we have another mammoth image facing right, and another mammoth facing left here. And we have etching lines all throughout this piece. And these are very finely done engraved pattern etching, and done in Paleolithic period times. And I discovered this etching on flake stone. Nobody had observed this etching on flake stone before my discovery of these Paleolithic story stone face and mammoth effigies. Then we have a very similar one from Mount Shasta. Look at the eye on this one right here, and then the hair flaring away from the eye. So very similar, identical imagery right there. And that's a big, mature mammoth with his big trunk sweeping off to the left. That's beautiful material, by the way, there. It really has some beautiful color to it when you turn it to different angles. And it has some striations going through it, which were also valued for the hair of the mammoth, the image of the hair of the mammoth. All those striations are inside the stone. And we have another mature mammoth this way. You can see the eye flaring out to the upper right there. And then that's all been flaked all down the backside. Again, just like all of these are flakes that were modified to make paleo effigies. This is the one from Arizona. This is the original part of the crystal on the outside. Then they flaked everything else away. And beautifully engraved it too. That's a great mammoth facing off to the right there. Great mammoth. And here's a great baby mammoth with its little trunk here facing off to the left. But this is a great mature mammoth now facing off to the right. This was found in Arizona in a dry volcanic creek bed. And it has some purple hues to it as well. It's a very cool piece. And then we have a mammoth facing off to the right. And then we have that baby mammoth facing off to the left. And look at all those engraving lines. Unbelievable, because that's on top of the head here of these faces. You've got a face, an old face over here with an open mouth. And you've got a younger face with a nose here and mouth looking off to the right. And you've got that hairdo up above the head, kind of tied in a knot, looks like. But this was found in a dry volcanic creek bed, and I acquired this from the finder. Look at all the engraving on the back of the mammoth there, the hair. I acquired this from the finder. He and his wife found several of these specimens while walking up a dry volcanic creek bed in Arizona, and that has bubbles in it. This is the naturally occurring volcanic glass. And then this is also volcanic glass from Mount Shasta, where we have the mammoth facing left. Big mature mammoth, big trunk coming down to the left. And we turn it this way. Now we have the hair knot up on top of the head, the eye of the baby mammoth right here, the blue inclusion, and the little trunk coming off to the right now. Little trunk coming off to the right. Let's see if I can move this over here. About like that. There we go. That's the eye of the baby mammoth with his little trunk right there. Massive hair tuft looking off to the right. Wow, this is a cool flake too. This is a flake, and they just modified it. So when you find debitage, here's the other baby mammoth right here with his eye here and his baby trunk over here. And then you have the full mature mammoth facing right. And you have a human face. This is the eye, and this is the big rounded nose over here. And another face looking off to the right. So the younger face to the right, the older face to the left, using this as the eye right there. Just an outstanding group of what we call flakes, Paleolithic Flaked Stone Flakes that have been modified into these wonderful Paleo Story Stone face and mammoth effigies.